Hey, this is Pete. Behind me I have the Super 6. Now, when this first came out, there wasn't a lot of videos demoing bass patches, so I just wanted to share a couple common sounds that I use with you guys. So here's a pretty common bass sound I use on the Moog, sort of a brassy pluck sound. And recreating the same sound on the Super 6. Now it's impossible to match this exactly. The filters are different, but luckily the Super 6 does have a pretty nice filter drive. And also on the Moog, this is being driven into the filter pretty hard. It's a one main sawtooth oscillator with a lower level of a second sawtooth, just slightly detuned. And that's the same thing on the Super 6. Now the main differences come into play once we start adding some multi-drive on the Moog. Even more pronounced is once we start feeding back the filter. And that's a very thick bass sound that you just can't get on the Super 6. It's quite a bit cleaner. Here's this in context to the track. And now adding some effects onto this, I just have a ready DI from Kush, so that gives me some drive and a bass boost. This is on the Super 6, by the way. And enabled. And a Klanghelm M Juke compressor. So we use the same two plugins on the Moog as well. That's without anything. Adding the DI and the M Juke. And now let's check that out with the track. So now let's make a sub-bass patch. Now there's a couple ways we can do this on the Super 6. We could take our standard high harmonic waveforms, a saw or a pulse or something, and we could just filter out until we basically are left with a sine wave. But what I usually like to do is to start with a sine wave on one oscillator. Maybe we'll do that on oscillator 2. And then we'll do a triangle wave on oscillator 1. So it has some harmonics already, but not a lot. This is oscillator 1 by itself. So it already sounds quite subby. And oscillator 2. Pure sine wave. And now we can get a blend of those two. And let's bring up the release a little bit. So that's sounding pretty good. If you want the tails to ring out a little bit, I have this on legato mode right now, but we could put it on one of the poly modes, and we shouldn't get the voice stealing. There it is. We needed that filter drive. So the last sound I have today is a sort of plucky square wave. So I have some chorus on there. This is without the chorus. And with it. So it's sort of the sound you get from a Juno or something, maybe used in some house with some octaves. So that wraps this up for now. I've really only scratched the surface of what's possible with this. My general thoughts are that the Sub 37 is definitely the way to go for those Moogy bass sounds. You really can't get the ladder filter and the feedback thing on the Super 6. But that said, it does do a good job of bass. It just has a really solid low end and great oscillators. And I think the filter type, I know it's not actually a ladder filter, but it's similar. I'll put up on the screen what filter it is. But it does actually distort nicely and do a good job of bass tones. It has sort of more the, I think the Rev 1 Prophet 5 sort of vibes to it. But it does do a very good job of bass. I don't know if I'd switch to it from my main bass synth since I have the Moog, but you get a lot of those sort of Prophet and maybe even Juno type tones with the chorus. So hope you guys enjoyed that and that it was useful, and I'll see you guys next time.